I mean, he's getting so disrespected. Like, watching him in the open field after the catch is the equivalent of watching Kyrie Irving in the NBA with those handles. As the Senior Bowl hype is here, it's time to give you an updated Superflex rookie mock draft, and I am using landing spots from our intern Sammy Stack's latest 7-round NFL mock draft. You can check out the mock draft in the description if you'd like to follow along with me. But at the 101 in a Superflex mock draft, we are going to go ahead and grab Ashton Jeanty. Now, in this mock draft, he went 12th overall to the Dallas Cowboys. Perfect fit. I think we're all obsessed with the idea of Ashton Jeanty in Dallas. I mean, look, as a Washington fan, I'm not obsessed with the idea of seeing him twice a year, but for fantasy purposes, it's perfect. It fits like a glove. It's a good offense for him to be a part of, and he would instantly become the alpha #1 guy in Dallas. Great player. Do not discount him just because he played in the Mountain West. As we head into the 102, I want you to keep your heart and your mind open. I want you to walk with me. All right, you don't have to agree with me, but I want you to walk with me. In this NFL mock draft we're using, in the second round, we get to see TreVeyon Henderson come off the board with the 41st overall pick. He's going to be my 102. I know that's crazy, but second round running backs have a 65% hit rate, which is higher than a first round wide receiver, higher than a first round quarterback. And let's talk about the fit. TreVeyon to Chicago with Ben Johnson? I'm sorry. Have we not all just been obsessed with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs for the past 2 years? And now with the second pick, with his second pick in the second round, Ben Johnson decides we're going to get TreVeyon Henderson in this thing and really start to build out this run game, use him as a weapon the way we did Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I'm not saying TreVeyon Henderson is the same talent as a Jahmyr Gibbs, but he is one hell of a talent himself. Former 4-star recruit. I mean, when Judkins transferred to Ohio State, we said, can TreVeyon be uber efficient? And he was absolutely one of the most efficient years of his entire career. High-speed processor. By far his best trait is his elusiveness, similar to Jahmyr Gibbs in that sense. But the hesitations, the jukes, the jump cuts, the speeds, the stop-start, the make-your-man-miss one-on-one type scenario, the home run hitting ability, the lightning quick feet, team player, getting skinny between the offensive linemen, pass pro, abilities. I mean, this is like his building block to his offense for Ben Johnson here. I'm a huge fan of his game. I see a ton of D'Angelo Williams, Aaron Jones to TreVeyon Henderson. And if Ben Johnson decides that he's an important part of this team in Chicago, I'm going to be very bullish on TreVeyon Henderson. And that's what we need to do with these mock drafts, is play out these different scenarios and talk about how it would impact rookie drafts. All right, at the 103, we are going to go ahead and lock up Tet McMillan, who was a Carolina Panther with the 8th overall pick. Tet is a great prospect, all right? 6'5", 212 pounds. He moves so fluidly, especially after the catch. He's very good after the catch for being 6'5", 210 pounds. That size-speed combo, wins with size, leverage. Not the best route runner. Like, look, you're not going to put Tez's film on and be obsessed with his route running, but he doesn't need to win that way. He has other areas in his game that he can win. The contested catches, the hands after the catch. There's so many different ways that Tet McMillan wins. There's a lot of Mike Evans, Drake London to his game, and I'm very excited about seeing what he could do. And think about it, Bryce Young hasn't had a player like this pretty much his entire career. You even go back to Alabama, he was winning with Jamison Williams, who was really beating people all over the field with his speed. Now you got a guy like Tet McMillan, who, you can kind of toss up these one-on-one balls too. I think that could be a really interesting combination there. While Tet McMillan isn't my clear-cut #1 wide receiver in this class, I think in this world we're living in, he would be the first off the board for me. All right, moving on to the 104. We are now going to grab another wide receiver, and that is Luther Burden. So Luther Burden comes off the board, the 21st pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am such a huge fan of Luther Burden, and I will not apologize for my just absolute fandom of this player. I'm not a Missouri fan, by the way. I'm just saying I'm a fan of this player. I'm a fan of his game. I'm a fan of when I turn a player's tape on and I feel like I'm watching a piece of art. I'm a fan of that. Luther Burden, I mean, he's getting so disrespected. I mean, if you look at this team's offense this year, this team's quarterback play this year, it's so obvious. You can easily point to the conclusions of why his stats aren't exactly what they were in the previous season. But, I mean, look at this guy, one-on-one, make-your-man-miss ability, huge bag of tricks in his game. Like, watching him in the open field after the catch is the equivalent of watching Kyrie Irving in the NBA with those handles, trying to take someone on one-on-one, to get to the bucket. it's kind of the same thing for Luther Burden, the way I see it. It's a yak monster, special threat in the NFL, dynamic, explosive player. I think he's an incredible route runner. I don't know why people don't give him credit in that area. Constant manipulation shown on film, great suddenness, twitch, the head fakes, the body movement, quick, sharp cuts. I mean, he is an incredible route runner, and he needs more respect in that area. He's got great concentration and ball skills. I mean, he had a reception percentage that was 10th best in the nation. He had just a 3.2% drop rate, and he wins jump balls. Yes, he is 5'11", 208 pounds, but he still goes up. He wins those jump balls. He had a 54% contested catch rate, caught 19 out of 35 contested catches this season. Now, you know, I know that people have like their warts on him. They don't think he's got burner speed. I do. They think he's limited to the slot. I don't, but I don't think that should even matter because we have so many slot dominant players in the NFL today with your Amon-Ra St. Browns, your Jackson Smith and Jigbas. You know, Cooper Kupp was in and out of the slot recently, but if you look at Luther Burden, I think you're seeing like a combination of Debo and JSN. They have a baby, and that's what you get with Luther Burden. That is one hell of a player in the NFL, and as much as I love George Pickens, Luther Burden, if this was the world we're living in, steps in and he is the guy from day one, and Pickens becomes this complimentary number 2 in my humble opinion. All right, moving on. Let's go to the 105. And let me just say this, the 102 all the way down to the 109, I think is one huge tier in this scenario. They could all be ranked in whatever way you want them. But at the 105, I am going to go ahead and take Caleb Johnson off the board. And in this world we're living in, he is also a Pittsburgh Steeler, but he was the 2nd round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Najee Harris moves on from this team. You know, as good of a player as Jaylen Warren is, he's not the future of this team. Caleb Johnson is a do-it-all running back, 6 foot, 220 plus pounds, carried this Iowa offense all year, over 1,300 yards, over 7 yards per attempt in the Big Ten, 20 rushing touchdowns. His analytics are insane. He had the number 1 breakaway percentage at 63%. He was 4th in yards after contact per attempt. I mean, special burst, hits the lane outside with conviction. He's a pile mover, strength through contact. Like I said, turning lemons into lemonade. I want my running backs to do that, and Caleb does that. He carried this offense on his own. I see a ton of Larry Johnson to his game. If you want to go back and look, Larry Johnson, Kansas City Chiefs, I see some Nick Chubb to his game. And if he goes 2nd round to the Steelers, I'm all in. You know, it's not the best offense, but you added Luther Burden, you added Caleb Johnson. Expect that offense to take another step. And by the way, 2nd round running backs have a 65% hit rate. Moving on, we're taking another 2nd round running back, but this one is Quinshon Judkins, who goes a couple picks later. I am a big fan of Quinshon Judkins. He had a fantastic playoff national championship game. You know, if you're lowering him in your rankings because he didn't hit that home run for a touchdown, I don't know what to tell you. You got the wrong process, but he's a very good player. No, he's not a home run hitter, but he is a chain mover. All right. He runs through contact like the Kool-Aid man runs through walls. He's got special play strength, great tempo, in between the offensive linemen. I mean, goal line converter. He's one of the best running backs on the goal line in this class. Broke out at an early age. Yeah, he's not the most elusive. He's not a very creative player, but, you know, I really have a good comp, in my opinion. David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt. Like, that is the hybrid right now. David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt. Think young Kareem Hunt with a little bit more juice than he has now. I think that's the type of player that the Chargers could be getting. And in that offense where the run game is so crucial, I'm obsessed with that pick. All right, moving on. At the 107, we are going to go ahead and grab Emeka Egbuka. In this world that we're living in, Egbuka was a 1st round pick to the Washington Commanders. You could make an argument that Egbuka might be as high as the 104 in this scenario. I am going to take him here at the 107. Like I said, this is one huge tier, which is why I've been suggesting everybody who has the 102 to trade back, stay in that top 7, 8, 9 picks. But Emeka Egbuka, perfect fit in this offense for the Washington Commanders. They need someone outside of Terry McLaurin to really dominate over the middle of the field, to dominate out of the slot, and Emeka can do that. I mean, he's been doing that his entire career. He's been dominating alongside Marvin Harrison, Jeremiah Smith. Even before that, he was a very, very good player with this just historic run of wide receivers that Ohio State has pushed out into the NFL, and that is the Brian Hartline effect. That's why it's so easy to bet on a name like Emeka Egbuka. Great versatility, reliable hands, great run blocker. He's a zone menace, tempo route runner, decisive planter. I'm a huge fan of his game. I think he is a chain mover, ankle breaker, slot specialist. I see a ton of Robert Woods to his game. maybe that's not a comp you like enough, but I love me some Roberto Woods. I'm a huge fan of that. A little young Juju Smith-Schuster as well. I think he's going to be a great NFL player and a perfect fit with Jaden Daniels. All right, moving on. Omarion Hampton. Now, you might be asking the question, Zach, you're so high on Omarion Hampton. Why did Omarion fall this far? Well, in this scenario, he is an early second-round pick, the 36th overall pick, but he goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm trying to work it out in my head. Y'all know I love me some Travis Etienne coming out of Clemson. Obviously, he had a very bad year, but Tank Bigsby looked pretty good. But I guess you can make the case that if Liam Cohen decides we're going to grab Omarion Hampton in the early second round, you can make the case that that's Liam's guy. And maybe I am putting him too low, but again, this is one huge tier from the 102 onwards. And I do love me some Omarion Hampton. I don't like that the entire community is trying to discredit Omarion. I don't understand it. I see a ton of James Conner, some Leonard Fournette. I think he's a very, very good player. Plant the foot, cut back, hit the hole, and go type of back. He's not a make your man miss one-on-one scenario like Trayvon Henderson is. They're different players entirely. But he was an integral part of their receiving game. He gets skinny in between the offensive line. He's got great speed for his side. The initial burst is special. He had 58 missed tackles forced per attempt. He led the nation in yards after contact per attempt in 2023, or yards after contact, in general. And he ran for over 100 yards in his true freshman debut, which was the first UNC freshman to do that since 1946. He is a complete player, in my opinion, and a great fit here for the Jags long term. At the 109, I finally get to talk about my love for Matthew Golden. We're going to take Matthew Golden off the board, who in this scenario was the 20th overall pick to the Denver Broncos. I don't know that there is a better fit for Matthew Golden in this entire draft. I am absolutely obsessed with him. He was in that second wave of scouting that I've been doing. 6 foot, 195 pounds. He was the most consistent wide receiver out of Texas this season. Matthew is a space manipulator, and that is a threefold compliment. He's a ridiculously high IQ route runner, has a high understanding of how to beat coverage in front of him. I mean, a DB's tendencies, how to exploit that. Like, he doesn't have elite twitch or throttle down at an elite level, but he beats them with his mind. If a DB is playing off of him, he can manipulate them with body or head fakes to gain a ridiculous amount of separation. And lastly, he has a special ability to identify zone coverage and to sit cozy in that pocket for his quarterback. He's got special ball skills, by the way, and he needed to have those ball skills playing with Quinn Ewers because, my God, that was the worst quarterback watch for me this season. Quinn Ewers, I was so sad every time I watched him throw. But look, Matthew Golden was a perfect fit because this man, Quinn Ewers made his life so difficult, but he still found ways to come down with the ball. The one-handers, the concentration catches, the one-on-one jump balls. He's great at high pointing the ball. He has tier 1 ball skills. In fact, if you look at his contested catch rate, 61%, 11 out of 18 contested catches. He was very reliable, sure hands. He can play inside, outside, true versatility, great quickness and long speed, quick, purposeful feet at the line of scrimmage. I'm a huge fan of his game. I see a ton of Brandon Cooks, young Brandon Cooks coming into the NFL, who was a late first-round pick as well. I see a ton of T.Y. Hilton. I'm a huge fan of his game, and going to the Broncos with Bo Nix, he'd be the perfect fit alongside Courtland Sutton. All right, at the 110, yes, I know. You're like, wait, this is Superflex. Where are the quarterbacks? Like, why is Zach not talking? Okay, so we are going to take Shedeur Sanders off the board here. He goes to the Raiders with the 6th overall pick. I'm a big fan. Look, I can't lie, actually. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not a big fan of any quarterback in this class. Most of you guys probably know that by now, but I'm just not a big fan of any of these quarterbacks. If you want to spend a top 4 pick on them, if you want to spend a top 7 pick on them, be my guest. But I'm of the opinion that if you really need a quarterback and you own one of those earlier picks, trade that pick for a quarterback already in the NFL, right? Go get your J.J. McCarthy's, your Michael Penix. Go get, just a player that, Jared Goff, a Baker Mayfield. I think I want to trade those picks if you're looking for a quarterback for someone already established in the league. But we are going to take Shedeur Sanders here. He goes to the Raiders. It's a great fit. Thinking about him with Brock Bowers, the mentorship of Tom Brady. Shedeur Sanders doesn't have the upside to break fantasy football, but he's going to be a fantastic quarterback too in Superflex formats. Think Tua Tagovailoa, think Brock Purdy. I think that's kind of like the ceiling comps for a name like Shedeur Sanders. And even though he doesn't have the best deep ball, at least he has a player like Brock Bowers who dominates over the middle of the field. I think it's a great fit. And right after that, we will go ahead and take Cam Ward, who was the 3rd overall pick to the New York Giants. I can totally agree with you guys. I see the ceiling outcome for Cam Ward. This could be a Jordan Love-esque type of player for fantasy football, where some weeks he wins you your week, right? But I also see this floor that a lot of people aren't recognizing. There's a Will Levis type of floor. He has a lot of dangerous balls. He makes a lot of bad decisions on a consistent basis. He misses his read on a lot of plays on a consistent basis. I see the ceiling. There's a lot of work to be done. It can definitely happen for him, as it happens for many quarterbacks in the NFL. But again, I would rather, if you're going to spend the 104 on Cam Ward, I'd rather send it away for a quarterback already in the NFL today. There will be no quarterback in this year's class that will be in my top 6 of my quarterback rankings last season. All right, at the 112, we get our first tight end coming off the board. That is Tyler Warren, who is the 7th overall pick to the New York Jets. Tyler Warren is a fantastic player. You know, I do prefer Colson Loveland overall for fantasy purposes. They're both great players. They're in the same tier for me in my rankings. But if one of them goes top 10 as a top 10 NFL pick, that shows true intentions from the Jets on exactly what they see in him as a player, as an offensive contributor. You know, I do think he is the most complete tight end in this back. If I was an NFL GM, he would be the first tight end on my board because of all the ways he can contribute to my team, especially in the run blocking game. But as far as fantasy purposes, you know, I do prefer Colson Loveland just slightly for what he can offer in an NFL offense as a receiving threat. And I know Tyler Warren has all these stats, but I just think Colson Loveland is a much better route runner overall. Just before we get into the second round, if you want a game plan completely customized to your Dynasty League, your Dynasty team for your offseason, then consider becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAN. You get the team playbook. All right, you get our 2025 rookie report and all the premium tools on the website. Alternatively, if you're a member with a different code or you don't want to become a member, you can also buy one a la carte through the Flock store. Check out the pinned comment. Let's get back to the video. All right, moving on into the second round. We'll go through the second round a little bit quicker here. At the 201, we have Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter was the 2nd overall pick in this draft. He goes to the Cleveland Browns. You know, in this scenario, do they play him at wide receiver? Do they play him at cornerback? I don't know. I think there's a real delicate line we have to balance with Travis Hunter with not knowing exactly where he's going to play in the NFL. If he were to declare as a wide receiver, he would easily be my 101. In fact, he would be locked in at the 102. It would be its own tier for me. That's how talented I think he is. He has the best ball skills I've ever seen of a prospect, but we're trying this balancing act right now. At the 202, we are going to go ahead and take Cam Skattebo, who I'm a huge fan of. He goes in the 3rd round to the Denver Broncos. I assume this means that they let go of Javonte Williams if they're going to take Cam Skattebo in the 3rd round. 3rd round hit rate on a running back is 54%, so we're still in a very safe range on a David Montgomery type of player, a guy who is constantly forcing missed tackles. He's got incredible strength and contact balance. Again, bit of David Montgomery there. Moves really well laterally, excellent vision, huge receiving threat, reliable in pass protection. He doesn't have the short area quickness of a home run hitting back. He's not a home run hitter. I'm not sure you can win outside, but he's not a special athlete, but he wins in the ways that a David Montgomery wins. And I see a little Javonte Williams in him, oddly enough, as well. Moving on to the 203, this is where one of my favorite players in the entire class is going to come off the board. That is Jalen Royals, 2nd round pick to the Arizona Cardinals. They definitely need another wide receiver in that room. Michael Wilson, he was a fun project, but I just think he's got a very low outcome at this point of his career. He's going to be a wide receiver 3 on an NFL team, but do they have a wide receiver 2? Jalen Royals can be that and more. He's one of the most explosive, dynamic, freak athlete, yak threats in this class. I see a ton of Rashee Rice to his game. I see a little George Pickens as far as how he could develop in the NFL. I'm a huge, huge fan of his game. He's a great manipulator, tons of physicality at the catch point. He would be a great fit for the Arizona Cardinals. All right, moving on to the 204. This is where Colson Loveland is going to come off the board. Why did he fall so far? Well, he was a 1st round pick, but he went to the Philadelphia Eagles. And as much as I love Colson Loveland, I have to sit here and recognize that if he's sharing a receiving room with A.J. Brown, with Devonta Smith, it's going to be difficult for him really to be a consistent threat, specifically as a rookie. So I could be undervaluing him here. He has a 1st round tag, but man, in that offense, it's already last year was the lowest passing volume offense in the NFL with Saquon Barkley. You add Colson Loveland to this group, it's just, it's tough to see the year one breakout for me. At the 205, we are going to go ahead and grab DJ Giddens, one of my favorite running backs in the class. Now, Tyrone Tracy owners, all right, skip past this part because he goes to the New York Giants in the 3rd round. I think he and Tyrone Tracy would be very good complementary pieces to each other. But as far as DJ Giddens goes, you have to know, he wasn't playing football early in his career. In fact, he only started playing organized football until he was a sophomore. That's when he first started, as a sophomore in high school. But he's a very special player. I don't see why people aren't watching him more or talking about him more. I see a ton of Chuba Hubbard, Tony Pollard to his game. He's just this dynamic, explosive, great through contact, great initial burst, make your man miss ability, size speed combo, incredible analytical profile. I think he's going to be a great, great player. All right, at the 206, we are going to go ahead and take Dylan Sampson, who is another 3rd round pick to the Cincinnati Bengals. So again, Chase Brown owners, close your eyes, skip this part, but Dylan Sampson was an incredibly productive running back for the Tennessee Volunteers this year. They lost Jalen Wright, who was a great contributor to this roster last season. And then Dylan Sampson steps in, has over 20 touchdowns on the ground, and was a threat through the air. He was just a production monster. He's got great patience behind the line of scrimmage, really good elusiveness, bounces off contact well. He's a legit threat in the air. He's going to test really well. There's some Bucky Irving to his game. Y'all know how much I love some Bucky Irving. There's some Bucky Irving, some Tajay Spears. I mean, he could be the 2 in a 1-2 punch. And I don't know how that works with Chase Brown, but here they prioritize him. All right, at the 207, I think the hate for this player has gone too far. That's Isaiah Bond. In this world we're living in, he's a 2nd round pick to the Houston Texans. Now, I took Matthew Golden in the 1st round. I think Matthew Golden is the better player from these Texas wide receivers, but people love to just trash on Isaiah Bond now. I get it. Isaiah Bond's had 1 receiving game over 100 yards his entire career. That's a concern for me. I talked to you guys about that back in December. I get that concern. About 2% of his games have gone for over 100 receiving yards. Now, there's clearly some sort of off-field issues or disagreement with coaching staffs because it happened in Alabama, it happened in Texas. He was dealing with the injury as well, but for some reason, there's is it work ethic? I don't know. I can't claim that because I don't know the player. I'm not in the building. Is there something about the way he approaches the game that coaches don't like? I don't understand, because from a talent perspective, he's a top 5 talent in this class. I mean, if you're obsessed with a guy who can run routes, put Isaiah Bond's film on and you'll fall in love with the guy. He's an advanced high IQ route runner. Nasty plant foot at the point of the break of a route. I mean, he got open often versus Will Johnson, which is a lot of people's cornerback ones in 2025. Incredible game speed. He can beat anyone down the field. Quick first step, great burst. He's a yak threat, decent versatility, quick release out the line of scrimmage, the double moves. But the issue is there's no production to rely on. The ball skills leave a little bit to be desired, and he's a liability in the run game. He just doesn't give effort. There's some Jaden Reed to his game, for sure. There's some Brandon Cooks to his game. I love the kid. I think he's super talented, but I don't know where the disconnect is. And at the 208, we're going to go ahead and take one of our favorite players in the class, Jack Besh, who does go to the Dallas Cowboys in the 3rd round, a 76th overall pick. If you want to, discount Jack Besh because he's a TCU wide receiver, you do you. But for me, the film speaks for itself. All right, if anybody is the next Puka Nacua in this class, it is Jack Besh. And when I say that, I don't mean instantly a top 10 wide receiver for Dynasty rankings. I more mean a player that is under the radar, big body, physical guy who can run really good routes and can be a contributor from day one. That is Jack Besh. The big physical route running chops with some of the best hands in the class is what really stands out for him. Snags the ball out of the air. He's got those magnetic hands. He's got one of the best drop rates in the class at 1.6%. Extremely versatile, difficult to bring down in the open field. Zone menace, deceptively smooth on his routes. Again, there's a ton of Puka Nacua to his game. I'm not going to say he's as good as Puka Nacua because that's an all-world talent, but he is very fun to watch. All right, at the 209, we're going to go ahead and take Jalen Milroe. Now, Jalen Milroe was the first pick in the 2nd round to the Cleveland Browns. And you guys know me, I typically do not bet on 2nd round quarterbacks. That's why we had no Will Levis the year he came out of Tennessee as one of the first picks in the 2nd round. But what I will say is in the last decade, you have one quarterback who has hit for fantasy in the 2nd round. Do you know who that is? That one quarterback is Jalen Hurts. So if you're going to draft or take a shot on a quarterback that has 2nd round draft capital, they better have some damn rushing upside And Jalen Milroe has that in strides. He was one of the best rushing quarterbacks. He was the best rushing quarterback in college football this year. He was absolutely crazy as a rushing quarterback. He might be one of the best running backs if he went to the running back position in this class. But the issue is he was nowhere near where Jalen Hurts was as a passer coming out. He's got a ton of inconsistencies. There's a little Anthony Richardson type of situation there, but I'll take a shot on him late in the second round. At the 210, we will go ahead and take Harold Fannin off the board. He fell this far because he went to the Colts. And overall, I'm just not obsessed with that landing spot. I'm not obsessed with that offense. There's so many weapons that he had to compete with. And then to finish off this video, we're going to grab Woody Marks, who was a 4th-round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm a big fan of Woody Marks. I think he is a guy that can contribute everywhere for this team. He's USC's first 1,000-yard rusher since Ronald Jones in 2017. His elusiveness is his superpower, and he also has ridiculous numbers as a receiver. I mean, he has over 250 receptions in his career. Absolutely ridiculous. And then at the 212, we'll go ahead and grab Jordan James, who's a little pack-a-punch running back in his own right. He goes to the Kansas City Chiefs in the 4th round. And this team, Isaiah Pacheco is not being used. They're using Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is old. They really don't have a dynamic player at running back right now. Maybe Jordan James can be that for these guys. He's a reliable running back. And there's a little Bucky Irving there, but I think Bucky Irving was a better player coming out. All right, let's go to my all-snubs list to end this video. Here are some players that got snubbed, could have been, drafted. Alec Manor, who was a early 2nd-round pick to the Saints. I have my own concerns with Alec Manor. I really don't understand why people are obsessed with this player. I voiced this concern in a live stream, and someone replied and told me that Alec Manor is an elite route runner. And I thought, wow, we're really overusing the word elite nowadays, aren't we? Because respectfully, I don't think he's an elite route runner. In fact, I wouldn't even say it's an area of strength of his. I don't understand. Not a single target. He's creating separation. He's got inconsistent hands. Sometimes he'll make a highlight catch, and sometimes they're inconsistent. I don't get it. Jaden Higgins, who went to the Bills in the 2nd round. I know that's most people's favorite sleeper. I like Jalen Noel a little bit more, but him going to the Bills, it just makes that room even more confusing to me. Then we have Trey Harris, Xavier Restrepo, Savion Williams, all good players. And then after that, Ollie Gordon, who went to the Browns in the 4th round. Tez Johnson, who went to the Jags. I love me some Tez Johnson. I don't care that he's underweight. Devin Neal, Jalen Noel, and RJ Harvey, all guys who were snubbed from today's video. Appreciate you guys watching. Drop a like. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.